Justice League is directed by Zack Snyder and co-directed by Joss Whedon, and also stars Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Henry Cavill, and Ray Fisher. Fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act in Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, Bruce Wayne enlists the help of his newfound ally Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, to face an even greater threat. Justice League is the 5th movie in the DC Extended Universe, and this is the one where it's the big team-up where we have Batman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Aquaman and The Flash teaming up against a greater threat that is coming to our world. And this movie I had mixed opinions on going in. I didn't really know what to expect, as the DCEU is a bit of a mixed bag at this point. Wonder Woman I absolutely loved, Man of Steel I thought was okay, and Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad are both awful. So it was safe to say I was very skeptical going into this film. I'll start off with the positives. This movie is visually stunning, and you can tell that this movie was mostly directed by Zack Snyder. There are so many shots in the film where you can notice, yep, that's a Zack Snyder shot. There are so many beautiful shots in this movie, and it's a very overall beautifully looking film. And I really appreciated a lot of the work that was put into making all these shots look great, especially during the action scenes. They just encapsulate you into the movie even more, and that is such a beautiful thing to watch on screen. Those action scenes were also very well done. I really appreciated how they really decided to balance the time out between each of the new League members, so we can truly showcase all of their powers and what they are all capable of, and also how they work together to make sure that they are dealing with this threat in the correct way. And I really appreciate all the different time given to all the different members, as each one isn't really pushed aside. There is nobody who is pushed aside. Everybody gets a time to shine and a moment in glory, and that's great for development of the characters. I will say once again that Wonder Woman is easily the best part of this film, just like she was in her own standalone movie and also in Batman vs Superman. Gal Gadot, it just nails this role. She is so brilliant in this. She's just so likeable. She's such a good hero. You want to get behind her, and she is just such a good screen presence. And her character, once again, is just, she's the moral center of this team. She's the one who we want to gravitate towards, and she is easily the lead of the film as well, which I really liked. I have also always been a huge fan of Ben Affleck's interpretation of Batman, and Batman once again returns in this film and is once again fantastic. In my opinion, he was the best part of Batman vs Superman, and I really like him here. I just love Ben Affleck's performance as not only Batman but also Bruce Wayne. I think he's really good in both roles. He just really presents this older, gruff, more comic book accurate Dark Knight, and I really appreciated that. However, he is a little bit too jokey for my liking, but I can look past that. Aquaman, played by Jason Momoa, was also a great addition. I really like the fact that they have really changed up the character here for more modern general audiences, as Aquaman from the comics probably wouldn't fit so well into this world, and also probably wouldn't resonate as well with audiences. So the fact that they've cast a major Game of Thrones actor in this role, he really presents this rock star vibe going on, and he's kind of not necessarily a reluctant hero, but somebody who just does it because he knows it's the right thing and doesn't really want to receive recognition. And I liked his character a lot. And the most surprising one for me was Cyborg. I didn't really expect Cyborg to be the standout of this film for me, but he really was. I mean, they got Ray Fisher, the actor who plays him, off of Broadway, and I'm so glad they did, because he is fantastic in this. I thought in the trailers that he came across a bit stoic and a bit wooden, but he actually has probably the most humanity of all the Justice League, which is kind of ironic, but also really does work. And I really appreciated everything he brought to this character, and I really want to see him show up again, because he's a really great addition to this cast. I also really have to commend the music in this film. The way they have taken music and scores from across loads of different DC films and brought them into Justice League is fantastic, while building their own score around it. Speaking of, Danny Elfman's Batman score is brilliant in this. Also, the use of Superman's theme from 1978 is also brilliant. And the new versions of Come Together by Gary Clark Jr. and Junkie XXL is another great addition. And these songs really represent what this film stands for and what the characters' legacies have built them up to be all these years. Also, the amount of fan service that is placed within this film is mind-blowing. If you are a fan of DC, then you will really appreciate what this film is going to do for you, as I did it, how it did for me. I really appreciate all the references, all the visual and subtle references to DC Comics and the greater lore of this universe, and the way that it hints towards it and sometimes directly shows it is something that is incredibly exciting for me, as I'm just sat there in the cinema freaking out of my mind. Now I will move into the negatives. My biggest negative for the movie is The Flash. Now, The Flash is one of my favourite comic book characters of all time. He was the one I was most excited to see in this film. You guys know how much I adore the Flash TV show, and how much I adore the character from the comics. But Ezra Miller's interpretation I found incredibly annoying and over the top, very silly as well, and it just doesn't represent who Barry Allen is. Barry Allen is an incredibly smart guy, whereas in this, they've turned him into an idiot, and I really didn't appreciate how they treated that character at all. Also, the story is just a bit generic. It's just, you need to get these 5 or 6 people together to take on this bigger, imposing threat who is the biggest threat we've ever seen. He's the biggest threat in the history of the world, blah, 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 blah. That's exactly what the story is of this film, and it's not particularly impressive, but then again, I'm not sure if it was trying to be. And so the story isn't anything mind-blowing, but it works, I guess, and it's serviceable for what this film is and what the story needed to be for a film like this, so I guess it's okay. Also, the CGI is a bit weak from here and there. It's not all bad, and it's not consistently bad, it's just there are a few things like Cyborg sometimes looks a bit off depending on the shot, it's a bit weird. Sometimes it seems a bit floaty and it's not always, it seems like it's on his body. Also, the main villain, Steppenwolf, did not look great. It's just, especially when the camera really goes close up to his face, you can really notice the CGI, and it's just a bit off-putting at times, and it sometimes can take you out of the experience, which was a bit distracting from time to time. Also, speaking of Steppenwolf, I will say he's not a good villain. He's just extremely underdeveloped. Although there is a quick scene where Wonder Woman describes who he is and where he comes from, you never really get that much development to understand who he is or where he comes from. Also, he's just this very generic, big, tall villain who's just this big threat, he's just a big thing for the Justice League to fight. And even though the voice actor did a great job, I cannot pronounce his name, but I really like that actor and he did a really good job. The overall character was just a bit weak. Now, just a couple more things to mention. Superman, as you guys know, is in this movie. He is obviously not dead. That's not a spoiler, really. Now, Superman, I won't say much about him other than the fact that he is the best he has ever been in the DCEU in this film. I've never been a fan of Superman in this universe, but now I am. I loved Superman in this movie. He is the complete embodiment of what this character should be, and I was so happy to see Superman, and he has some of the best moments in the film, I will say that. Also, in terms of post-credit scenes, in case you guys are wondering, there are 2 post-credit scenes in this film, and they are both interesting. One of them is just a joke, and again, I won't spoil what either of them are, but the first one's just a bit of a joke, and then the second one completely blew my mind. That's what I'll say straight up. As a fan of this stuff, I saw this thing happen on my cinema screen. I was shaking in my seat, I couldn't move, I still haven't calmed down about it now. It was amazing. Overall, Justice League is a fan's dream come true. I had an absolute blast with this movie and I could not stop smiling the entire way through. Now, I will say that this movie isn't perfect. This movie's got plenty of flaws, and to be honest, it's not even that much of an impressive film. But I don't think this movie was trying to be, and I hate the phrase that I'm about to use, but this movie was made for the fans. This movie wasn't trying to impress critics. This movie was simply made to impress the fans. I'm going to give Justice League a B+.